We cannot continue to rely only on our military in order to achieve the national security objectives that we've set. We've got to have a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong, just as well funded.
Oh yes, we can!
Obama's healthcare plan will include coverage of all essential medical services.
Obama's healthcare plan will provide participants minimum copay for deductibles.
Obama's healthcare plan will simplify paperwork for providers.
Obama's healthcare plan will provide subsidies for families who cannot afford Medicaid.
Obama's healthcare plan will be able to provide participants the ability to move from job to job without taking the healthcare coverage.
Obama's healthcare plan will extend coverage to young adults up to the age of 25 through their parents' plan.
Obama's healthcare plan will not turn any American away from any insurance plan.
Obama's healthcare plan will offer health information technology.
Obama's healthcare plan will reform our market structure to increase competition.
Obama's healthcare plan will offer federal reinsurance to employers. John Team, retreat!
We are 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America.
We just want everyone to know that they're welcome and to know that we're here to embrace them in any way and to be a partner in all that they do.
We're proud of having the Obama Foundation here in Chicago, here in our city. We're proud of our 44th president. And it was just a great experience to be able to show that pride for Chicago during Pride.
The people that we've seen on this route, especially the little kids, these are going to be the leaders of tomorrow. They're seeing the value of standing up, getting out, marching, and making a difference.
I'm organizing for action.
I'm organizing for action.
I'm organizing for action.
This is a grassroots movement.
Literally millions of people.
We're the people who don't just support progressive change.
We're willing to actually stand up and fight for it.
This is about making real, lasting change.
Stuff that is not going to happen on its own.
Not without organizers.
We're the ones who refuse to be cynical
about what we can get done.
Trust me, we know what we're up against.
But nothing's more powerful than millions of voices
calling for change. Yes, it's true. We are community organizers.
And we're actually really proud of it.
This movement is the single greatest threat
to the way that the powerful interests in Washington do business.
But it depends on you. It all comes down to a choice.
About how you spend that free hour.
That free afternoon.
About whether you forward that article to a friend.
Or whether you pick up the phone to call your member of Congress. It's about what's in your gut.
What are you willing to fight for?
Because the big fights require
all of us.
All of us.
All of us.
By my side.
We cannot continue to rely only on our military in order to achieve the national security objectives that we've set. We've got to have a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong, just as well funded.
Hi everybody. I want to make sure you know about Connect, OFA's latest community organizing tool. Connect is designed to make it easy for the best organizers on the planet to collaborate, no matter where you live. You can jump in on the work going on right now in your community or join the conversation with organizers across the country working on an issue you're passionate about. Whether you just got your first training or whether you've been doing this work for decades. Connect is all about making the grassroots movement you're building more accessible and more effective. And I can tell you, a tool like Connect sure would have come in handy back when I was organizing in the south side of Chicago. The ability to reach committed organizers in my area with the click of a button would have been incredible. At the very least, it would have saved me some gas money. I can't wait to see what you do with it. Go to connect.barackobama.com to get started on Connect today. I just sent my first message. Hope to see you on there.
Now, one of the things that I have learned about Hillary Clinton is that one of her heroes, her mentors, was Saul Alinsky. And her senior thesis was about Saul Alinsky. This was someone that she greatly admired and that affected all of her philosophies subsequently. Now, interestingly enough, let me tell you something about Saul Alinsky. He wrote a book called Rules for Radicals. On the dedication page, it acknowledges Lucifer, the original radical who gained his own kingdom. Now think about that. This is a nation where our founding document, the Declaration of Independence, talks about certain inalienable rights that come from our Creator. So are we willing to elect someone as president who has as their role model somebody who acknowledges Lucifer? Think about that.
We are 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America.
Lived in a culture that was controlled by rich white people. And they will not only attack you if you try to point out what's going on in white America, U.S. of KKKA. God bless America, God damn America, that's in the Bible.
Obama's been a member of this church for 2 decades. Does it say anything about him that he's a member of this church and he is a member of Reverend Wright's flock?
The man I met more than 20 years ago is a man who helped introduce me to my Christian faith. I can no more disown him than I can disown the black community. He strengthened my faith, officiated my wedding, and baptized my children.
Do Reverend, you know black theology?
Reverend, I'm going to give you a chance to answer my question.
How many of Cone's books have you read?
Reverend?
How many of Cone's books have you read?
Reverend, I'm going to ask you, the question.
How many books of Cone's have you read? I'm going to ask. If you're not going to talk about black liberation theology that started with Jim Cone in 1968,
Reverend,
then you can't talk about the black values.
James Cone has been at Union Seminary since 1969. Teaching systematic theology through the black experience in America.
Many Orthodox and evangelical Christians believe that Jesus died on the cross to redeem humankind from sin. Unfortunately, this Orthodox understanding of the cross has become a fixed doctrine that many believe must be accepted as the definition of what it means to be a Christian. Now, if the powerful in our society, the white people, if they want to become Christians, they have to give up that power. You just don't say, please forgive me now. The only way in which your repentance, your forgiveness can be authentic, your reception of it can be authentic, your repentance can be authentic, is that you give back what you took. And white people took a lot from black people.
If you're not going to talk about theology in context, if you're not going to talk about black liberation theology that started with Jim Cone in 1968, then you can't talk about the black values.
The man I met more than 20 years ago is a man who helped introduce me to my Christian faith, officiated my wedding, and baptized my children.
How we are seeing God, our theology, is not the same. And what we both mean when we say, I am a Christian, is not the same.
Reverend Wright?
Right, and who is my pastor, and he is a wonderful man. And I think that's an example of, he's a pastor of a large congregation in Chicago. And one of the interesting things that I discover in my journey to discover what my identity is and who my father is also discovering sort of my own faith, which is not necessarily a traditional faith. I don't come out of an institutionalized religious setting, but what becomes important to me as I work with churches in the south side of Chicago and low-income neighborhoods, is to realize that, you know, all the stories and songs of the church, you know, the hope that is embodied in the church, the sense of liberation that is embodied in the historically African American church, is really something that moves me deeply, and I think is probably the main pillar around which a lot of inner cities communities are going to be built. And Reverend Wright, my pastor, who I speak about in a chapter in the book, I think represents the best of what the black church has to offer.
Before I even get inaugurated, during the transition, we're going to be calling all of you in to help us shape the agenda. We're going to be having meetings all across the country with community organizations so that you have input into the agenda for the next presidency of the United States of America.
New evidence tonight that the so-called community left-wing activist group Acorn is involved in widespread voter registration fraud. In point of fact, Acorn is a left-wing special interest group that's been under investigation for literally years in various parts of the country for voter fraud and embezzlement. Tonight, the Lake County, Indiana Board of Elections says Acorn submitted literally thousands of fraudulent voter registration cards over the past few days alone. Drew Griffin has been investigating Acorn, is joining us now from our Chicago Bureau with the very latest for us. Drew?
Acorn, who supports Barack Obama in this presidential campaign, went out and tried to register as many new voters in Lake County as they possibly could. The deadline was October 6th. They came in with 5,000 new applications, and when the registrations office began going through them, they found a pattern. Every single one of them was fraudulent.
A lot of them?
50%. We had close to 5,000 total from Acorn, and so far we have identified about 2,100.
So roughly half of them are bad.
Correct.
Registered to a dead person, registered as a person who lives at a fast food shop, or just all of them amazingly in the same hand.
Yes. All the signatures look exactly the same. Everything on the card filled out looks just the same.
Ruth Ann, fraud?
We have no idea what the motive behind it is. It's just overwhelming to us.
Lou, I took a look at these registration forms, and indeed, they're all in the same hand. You can tell they're all written by the same person. They showed us the death certificates of some of these people who are registered there. The workers have been diligently trying to go through all these new ones, but finally they had to just put them aside. 2,100 of these applications are fraudulent. The other 2,900 have been placed to the side. They haven't even looked at them yet. They want to take care of the actual good applications of real new voters who really want to vote in this election. But they're scared. They're scared they don't know what's out there and who or what is going to show up at the polls when voting actually begins in those ballot boxes.
But this, you've been looking into this story for days and days now. We're seeing it from Vegas to Ohio to Pennsylvania to Indiana, all over the country, and these investigations are opening up. How can there be any doubt about what's at work here?
Barack has captured the youth, and he has involved young people in a political process that they didn't care anything about. That's a sign. When the Messiah speaks, the youth will hear. And the Messiah is absolutely